All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another great edition of Racers News Network Live. As you can tell, my face is frozen, but my voice is not. So I have four computers going on my Wi-Fi, so something's got to give, and it's my face that's got to give. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But we're going to be talking about hydro drag boat racing tonight, and we're going to be talking in just a minute with Shelby Ebert. She is our guest this evening, and she's going to educate us on the world of drag boat racing. I've already learned a couple things talking to her before the show, so it's going to be really cool. And she also works at Heartland Park, so we could talk a little bit about what's going on at Heartland Park, and it's going to be a good time. So we're very happy that everybody is tuned in, checked us out live. Obviously, I want to welcome our guest, Shelby Ebert. Good evening, Shelby. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So, like I said, obviously, we talked for a couple of minutes before we came on, and I already learned. We're getting snowed on, and it's wet and heavy, so it's bouncing off my roof, off the trees around my house. So it sounds like something's trying to crash through my roof. But like I said, I've already learned a couple of things about the world of drag boat racing, and going to be a really cool experience talking about this tonight. It's something we've never talked about before. We've talked to sand draggers, mud bog racers, obviously lots of drag race people, road racers. So we're diving into the next wave of the world of motorsports. So let's start right off. How long total have you been competing in racing of some fashion?
So I've been racing drag boat racing since I was 14. So I'm going to be 28 this year. So 14 years approximately. My dad has been racing for 30 plus years. So that's how I got involved in it. And I've never done anything else. We start our kids on jet skis. So that's how I started racing on a jet ski, and then have moved into an open hydroplane drag boat, raced that for 4 years, and now I'm in a capsule pro modified drag boat.
Very cool. Now, one thing that you mentioned that I thought was really awesome was in the world of drag boat racing, the jet skis are your version of a junior dragster. That's how the kids really get started.
Yeah, it's basically their way of getting coordinated with the course, the rope, the clock, and all of those things without being in a full-size boat. So basically our form of junior dragsters are jet skis.
That is really cool. Now, do they have to go through any kind of like a licensing similar to like what the kids do with the junior dragster program in NHRA?
Yep. So they can start at whatever age your boater safety course allows you to start at per state. So when I was younger, Kansas was 14 years old. So that's when I started, where I started. And I had to get my Kansas boater safety license. So each kid has to get a boater safety license in their state to compete at a drag boat race on a jet ski. So for some states, that's 12 years old. Some are 13, some are even older. It just depends on the state.
That's cool. Now, motor rule-wise stuff like that, are we talking like basically off the showroom floor jet skis, or are they allowed minimal modifications to get started, or is it, like I said, you run down to your local Kawasaki dealership or wherever and buy one, and you can bring it as long as you got the right credentials, you can jump in the water and go at it?
It can kind of be all of the above. You know, a lot of our kids start off on just a generic jet ski that somebody either buys from a independent owner or off the showroom floor or whatever. But there are quite a few adults that race jet skis still in our associations that do have like a hopped up jet ski that run. I think there's one that goes almost to 100 mph. So that there's potential for that too. But the majority of what you see are just your jet ski that you'll see out on the lake.
200 miles an hour on an open jet ski.
100, not 2.
Oh, 100. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm glad you corrected me on that.
That would be crazy.
What?
Yeah.
But still, even still, 100 miles an hour on water, you crash. It's like crashing into concrete, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That is insane. So you started out with jet skis. What's the next progression from a jet ski?
There are so many, like cars, there are so many different options when it comes to drag boat racing. The four, I would say, options that you could go into afterwards are you could go into an outboard boat, which is like what you see on a lake, an outboard boat. You could get into a jet boat, which also you see a lot of jet boats out on lakes that, people buy a jet boat, put, whatever kind of motor in it and, put around on the lake. The next one would be a flat bottom, which is also can be a lake boat, and then you have your hydroplanes, which can be a little bit more dangerous, and you're not going to take that out on a lake typically. Back in the day they did, but those are kind of your four different types of boats that you could get into, and there's different classes as well depending on speed. We have everything from stock eliminator down to top fuel hydro. So all of those things, stock eliminator starts at I believe they've changed it around. I believe it's like 8 seconds now or 9 seconds now. So 9 seconds in 1,000 foot, and then you could, go all the way up to I run 560 in 1,000 foot.
Wow, 560. Damn. So that's where NHRA got the idea for 1,000 feet racing.
I think we actually stole it from them, to be honest with you. The reason
really?
it started was top fuel hydro, top alcohol hydro. They were running so fast and having so many accidents, and really bad things happened that they cut our course down to 1,000 foot. And then we were still running quarter mile while the pro categories were running 1,000 foot, kind of like NHRA does. And then they cut everybody down to 1,000 foot.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Like I said, I can't imagine that. Again, I live in New Hampshire, so when I was younger, I used to snowmobile, and I know what it's like, going wide open at 75, 80 miles an hour back then on a snowmobile. And I can't imagine being in the wide open going, 150, 200-ish miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. But all right, so you take the next step up. Again, the jet skis, and then the regular boats, if you will. Who'd made the call to take the next step? Did you look at your dad and say, okay, it's time, or did he look at you and go, all right, young lady, it's time for you to take the next step?
I think it was always kind of known. I raced jet skis for 3 years, and while doing that, I was always ready to go into an open boat. It kind of worked out in a perfect way. We actually found a boat that was identical to my dad's that was for sale, and my dad was like, well, if we're going to put Shelby in anything, we're going to buy one that we know is safe and we know is good. And so he swooped it up. It's a beautiful boat, really great boat, and won a lot of races, won a lot of championships for me. And it's always been, it's one of those stories that, you hear about, like Erica Enders. She knew that that's what she was going to do from a very young age. And that was kind of what my story is as well. When I was really, really little, my dad and all of us went racing all the time. And I told my parents from a really young age that that's what I wanted to do. Obviously they were skeptical, didn't know if I'd actually follow through with it, but I just knew that it was always something I wanted to do.
Very cool. Now, for those that don't know about the hydroplane style boats, talk a little bit about the boat itself, how it's constructed, things of that nature.
So basically a hydroplane is built to run on the two front sponsons, and it's actually built for the boat to lift the back end of the boat. So it wants to basically plant the front of it and lift the back end to help with aerodynamics and make it go faster and all of those things. Hydroplanes are the fastest boat in drag boat racing. So it's basically built to hover above the water and barely touch the water and ride on top of it, instead of a normal boat that's like this, going like this with the
Right.
back end in the water and the front end up.
Oh, wow. Now, what are the hydroplanes themselves constructed of? Are there different materials? Are they all basically one type of material, carbon fiber or fiberglass or whatever? Or is there a whole bunch of different materials that they're made out of?
For the most part, to my knowledge, all of them are built from mostly fiberglass. We do have like actual wood stringers in our boats. But for the most part, all of the stuff that you see as far as the body goes is fiberglass.
Oh, so there is still a little bit of a traditional boat building skill in putting one together then
Yes.
with the wood and stuff.
Yep.
That's really cool. Now, motor wise, what do you run for a motor in your boat?
We run an Allen Johnson 481X.
Supercharged.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Now, most of the boats, pardon my ignorance on this, I've only seen it on TV. We don't have hydroplane racing out here in the Northeast, in my area anyway. The injector and the blower usually is turned around. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Silly question. Give me the reason behind that. I'm assuming it's for what, so water doesn't get in it, but
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I couldn't tell you. It's just the way it is. The motors in drag boat racing are configured differently than in cars, because the motor is actually, the blower belt is on the back of the boat.
Right.
So it's basically flipped around. And I couldn't tell you why that is, except for I know that the coming out of the like crankshaft or whatever, the shaft that comes to the steering wheel or the clutch and transmission and all that, we don't run a transmission, but comes through to the clutch and then goes back to the prop shaft, if that makes sense. We have a V drive in our boat, so the shaft goes from the motor to the V drive, through the clutch to the V drive, and then down through into the prop shaft to make the prop shaft run.
Wow. Now, the props are something that are a tuning tool for you guys. Is that correct?
I think it is for some people. We don't. Once we have found a prop that works well for our boats as far as leaving and as the handling of the boat, if you don't want, we particularly like a smaller prop so the boat doesn't dig the sponson a lot when we leave. But a lot of people like a bigger prop. It digs the sponson a little bit on the leave. So it really just depends on personal preference and what you're wanting. I know a lot of people have different props for different things. We run the same prop all the time.
Now, obviously, you've been around asphalt drag racing, working at Heartland Park. Excuse me. You've seen the tuning and stuff like that goes on between the rounds on an alcohol dragster, alcohol funny car, even a nitro car. Mm-hmm. What's the difference in what a funny car or dragster team would do between rounds as compared to what you guys do between rounds on the boat?
So I would compare, like, especially the top fuel teams that come to the national events, they basically run the same setup, same motors as the top fuel hydros do in drag boat racing. So they're using the same parts, the same stuff. For us, what we do when we come back from a run, we download the run, we have all the computer technology and all of that stuff. We check the spark plugs, we change the pill, change the pulley if we need to change anything on the tune-up, refuel during the weekend, because we typically run a 2 to 3 day weekend race. We'll check the oil filter, we will check the plugs all the time, run the valves, that kind of stuff. But we don't really get deep into the motor like those top alcohol guys do or the top fuel guys do. Unless something goes wrong, then we will dig deeper. But that's basically the between round and each evening's maintenance that we do.
Wow, that's cool. Now, where typically do you guys compete? What geographic area is where the hydroplane is, like the big home of hydroplane racing?
So we run a lot at Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri. We run with Kentucky Drag Boat Association. They have 4 events at Lucas Oil Speedway each year. We're also going to have one down in Grove, Oklahoma this year. The other main association we race with is Southern Drag Boat Association, and they race all over Texas. Outside of that, that's mainly your 2 Midwest associations. Outside of that, you're going to get over to the West Coast people. That's NJBA, ADBA, CDBA, and they race a lot in Arizona, California, and then up in like the Oregon area is where CDBA is. Those are your main associations throughout the country.
So it's safe to say then that drag boat racing is pretty much a Midwest, middle part of the country, West Coast based sport. It's not really hot and heavy out on my way at all then.
Yep, the furthest we actually have never been, but the furthest the National Association has been back when we did have a national association was Augusta, Georgia. And so
Okay.
there was more of like that Kentucky area races that went on, but they aren't happening anymore, unfortunately.
Well, what's the safety equipment like on a boat compared to a car?
I'd say similar. We have a fire suit. I have to have a Hans device. We have a 5-point harness that I wear inside the capsule. The only thing that's different is the helmets have to be in a capsule specifically. In an open boat, you just wear a normal helmet, but in a capsule specifically, you have to have an oxygen device on you because if you wreck, the capsule is designed to be pitched out of the boat and to save the driver from the crash itself. So basically, I have an air bottle and then a regulator on my helmet that gives me, in case of an accident, air until the divers would be able to come and get me out of the capsule.
Now you have the flip up cockpit,
Mm-hmm.
and then now do you have, like, I know in offshore boat racing they have the escape hatch underneath or at the bottom of the boat. Do you guys have that same type of system?
No, we don't. So I have the ability obviously to open it up, but once it's submerged in water, there's so much pressure, you won't be able to open it. So really you're at the mercy of the divers to come in and get you. And there's 2 pins that are on the outside of the capsule. They pull those and then they're able to get the capsule lid open and get you out.
Oh, wow. So you guys basically have your own version of the safety safari that these guys are the experts on getting you out as quickly as possible, obviously.
Yes, yeah, they're on a crash within seconds and they do some really, really, really incredible things.
Now, the people that race the open cockpit style boats, am I correct in saying they have to have a parachute on them?
So it's not required, but it is recommended. I did run a parachute when I was in an open boat. My dad still runs a parachute. He actually was in an accident this past year for the first time, and his parachute did come out. It did work. The idea behind the parachute on your life jacket is that if you're in an accident, that the parachute would come out and take you away from that accident is the idea.
Right.
It's definitely not a perfect situation. It'd be like similar to like a dragster, somebody having a parachute to try to lift them away from the dragster. It's not perfect, but it definitely is an extra safety measure that you can take to try to save yourself from the debris that comes with an accident. And, there's some people that don't love the parachute idea and some people that love it. So it's truly just personal preference.
Right. What's the worst accident that you personally have had?
I've never been in an accident. I've been on fire, and the boat, I've actually been in experience with the boat is almost sunk, but I've never been in an accident. I've never been underwater during competition. I've been underwater during training because they do make us go through capsule orientation where you get in a capsule and they basically pitch you over the side of the boat and the divers basically simulate a crash. So I've done those things, but I've never been in an accident, either in an open boat or a capsule boat.
Well, that's cool. Trying to think of more. Like I said, unfortunately, this is something that's an entirely different universe to me. I'm just going on the little bit of knowledge that I have about it, and things that I've seen on TV.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the future? Do you have any urge to try a car, or have you tried drag racing a car?
I haven't. Last year, Frank Hawley Drag Racing School was going to come to Heartland. They were there actually, and I had bought the school for my dad. I wanted him to be able to experience it, and he was going to return the favor and do it for me. But the weather ended up being bad and they had to cancel. So I think if they came back, which they do every other year typically, so I think if they ever came back, we would definitely go forward with the class. I think it would be interesting. I don't know how I would feel about it. I would just have to try it. But I love drag racing, but it's just so different and so similar to what I do now. I just don't know what it would be like. But we have talked about, when Lucas Oil, the national series was ended in 2018. We did discuss, what did our future look like as far as if drag boat racing does go away, what does that look like? And Dad and I have talked many times about, going either top dragster racing or top alcohol dragster racing, because we have the infrastructure for it. So I think it has potential, but as long as drag boat racing is around, I don't think we would ever, commit to that full time.
All right. I asked you this question before we came on, but I'm gonna ask it again so everybody else can hear the answer. In the hierarchy class-wise of drag boat racing, obviously we have top fuel. What is the class structure below top fuel?
So you have top fuel hydro, which is comparable to top fuel in NHRA. They run the same equipment. Then you have top alcohol hydro, which is comparable to top alcohol funny car, top alcohol dragster. And in that same level, you have top alcohol flat, which is just a different type of boat, same motor. Then you have us, which is Pro Outlaw and Pro Mod. Pro Outlaw runs 520 in 1,000 foot, and we run 560 in 1,000 foot. My boat and motor are really completely capable of running Pro Outlaw. We've just chosen to run Pro Mod for the last 8 years. But Pro Outlaw is definitely something we'd consider.
Now, power adder wise on the motors, obviously superchargers are more than likely the big thing. What else is out there in the world of drag boat racing that is used a lot for a power adder?
I would say that's the number one for sure. I see, but there's guys that run anything and everything. Like we have a gentleman who's out of Texas, and I just raced him in Phoenix last year, and he runs nitrous. So there are those guys out there that are doing those different things. But it's just not as common, especially in the higher classes, like my class and up, even my dad's class, like quick eliminator. The next step would be quick eliminator and then pro eliminator. Even those guys, they are any kind of power adder, they're pretty much doing a blower.
That's cool. Yeah, because again, referring back to pavement drag racing, as you've seen, I'm sure, there's so many different power adders. You have turbos, you have pro chargers, you have the vortex, you have, traditional belt driven blowers, screw blowers and things like that, and obviously nitrous. So I was curious of what, the variety was in the world of drag boat racing.
Yeah, you have those different people that try to get out of the box. There's a Pro Outlaw guy that runs a twin turbo, and he's been successful, but then he kind of veers off. It's not as consistent as the blowers tend to be. The top alcohol guys have gotten into the screw blower stuff, and they've been really successful, and they're wildly fast. So, but blowers are typically your most seen at a drag boat race.
Right. Points wise, do you guys have like a national championship, or do you combine it in any way with drag boat racing over, across the pond in Europe? Is there any kind of like a world championship involved in it?
So it's a complicated question. So in 2009, 2010, Lucas Oil got heavily involved in drag boat racing. Forrest Lucas started building the track in Wheatland, Missouri at Lucas Oil Speedway. And we had a national series in 2010, I believe. Well, it might have been 2011, was the first year of the national series. And we had divisions just like NHRA does. We had Division 1, which was on the West Coast. Then we had Division 2 in the Midwest and Division 3 on the East Coast. So every year we would have division races that were put on by different associations and led up to division points. And then we had the national series that was for your Pro Mod, Pro Outlaw, Top Alcohol Flat, Top Alcohol Hydro, and Top Fuel Hydro. Those were your national classes, just like it is with NHRA.
Mhm.
They did that and did it really, really well until 2018 is when the end of 2018 is when they decided to get out of drag boat racing. It just wasn't financially feasible for them anymore. And it was a big commitment. They had all their own safety equipment, boats. They had multiple rescue boats. They had all their timing equipment that they took to every single national event. They had all their own staff. It was basically like NHRA, but on water. We had a national series that was about 10 to 12 events a year, and we ran we started promo in 2016, and so we ran 2016 through 2018 going to all the national events, and they really did it well. They did it professionally, and they did a really great job at it, but it just, at the end of the day, it wasn't financially worth it for them. Thankfully, they've been able to keep the drag boat track at Wheatland, and we're able to go there, which is an amazing facility. But that was our national event point structure. So now we just have associations, which is what we had prior. So with Kentucky Drag Boat Association, I race for a KDBA championship every single year. And then if I went down and ran the whole series with SDBA, I would run for the points championship with SDBA. Now at the end of the year, each year, Lucas Oil would have a race in Phoenix at the man-made track there at Wild Horse Pass. And that would be your world finals. And everybody from everywhere would come out. They would have 200 plus boats, and we would run for a world championship. And again, after 2018, they stopped that. SDBA came back in 2021 and had the first one back there, having a world finals. And so we went back in 2021 and 2022 last year and had another world finals. It's a little bit different, but everybody still comes out, which is really great.
That's awesome. All right, switching gears a little bit. You work at Harlan Park. Why don't you talk about how long you've been there? Start off with that.
Yeah. I started there in January of 2018, actually before I graduated college. So I've been there for over 5 years now.
And what is your position at Heartland Park?
Digital marketing and sales coordinator technically, but I handle all of the marketing for any of our events, the national event, the music festival that we have there now. So any kind of marketing, radio, TV, etc. That's what I handle.
Very cool. Do you have any other day-to-day responsibilities there other than the marketing, or is that your baby?
Yeah, we kind of all do a little bit of everything. There's only 4 of us full time in the office. So we basically kind of do it all. I mean, I answer the phones quite a bit. We do printing off bracket series points forms, and I handle buybacks during our bracket races and the social media all the time. I handle our t-shirts for ET Finals, our ET Finals team. So, I mean, just a little bit of everything, but definitely the marketing side, but we all kind of pitch in where we can.
Jack of all trades, master of none, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Now what's it like going from, your weekly bracket race program, and then all of a sudden you got to switch gears quick and fast to the national event side of the universe?
It makes every day interesting. I will say that. So we have to go from, we even have road course racing and drifting on a weekly to bi-weekly basis. So we have a little bit of everything at Heartland, and the national event is definitely our big focus for the year, but we also have multiple events every single weekend that we have to worry about. Down to how we're going to sell electricity for a road course event to the racers. So it's just a conglomerate of things. You go from a road course event to dealing with the grand marshal at the national event to escorting him around. So, I mean, it's a laundry list of things, and makes every day different and interesting.
So Sunday night, when the national event wraps up and you are finally heading home at midnight, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, do you all just kind of text each other and go, "We did it"?
Yeah, I'd say so. Definitely with the national event and our music festival that we have, it is an all hands on deck, do whatever you can to get everything done and make sure everybody is good and doesn't need any help or anything like that. So, and since we're such a small team, I mean, we have a lot of other staff that is part-time or things like that, but since we're such a small team in the office, we are really, really close. We're kind of like a little family. So it is a relief and that family type atmosphere where, on a Friday night or Saturday night, maybe after the national event, when it's 6, 7 o'clock, it's like, can we just, sit down and have a beer and, talk and hang out at the end of the night? So we do definitely do that.
Get to and just decompress from the whole thing.
Yes, definitely.
Very cool. Well, that's awesome. I definitely think that I learned a little bit more about drag boat racing than I knew 35 minutes ago. But how about the sponsors, the people that help with your racing program every week?
Yeah, so my parents obviously are the biggest sponsor, and I mean, I don't know if I'd call them a sponsor, but I guess that's what they are. They own a business in my small town, hometown of Wamego, Kansas. My dad actually owns a machine shop they do like parts for heavy equipment. We have a John Deere dealer. We have a Caterpillar plant in our hometown. So he does stuff for all of those people, all of those companies. So it's ENR Machine out of Wamego. I've been sponsored by Lucas Oil for the last however many years, and they've been so great to me. My newest sponsor, which don't know if I would consider it a sponsor, but again, sponsor. My boyfriend just started a apparel company, so Iconic Apparel out of Kansas City. And besides that, just my crew. They've been with me for since I was on jet skis, and they're a huge help to us every single weekend.
Awesome. Any urge in your soul of a racer to want to try Top Fuel Hydro?
I've always said that I think I would do it maybe once, but I think if I did it once, I would want to do it again and again and again. I've also said that if they could guarantee me that I'm not going to crash the first time, I would 100% do it one time. I always thought yes, and there were some talks of opportunity over the years, and since Lucas Oil got out of the National Series, Top Fuel really doesn't exist much anymore. There's two that I know of that are even operational right now. But I used to say yes, that I would be open to it, but as I get older, I think that it's just not in the cards. I think we'll definitely go pro outlaw racing at some point, just because it's a little bit faster and something different. I mean, we've been in pro mod for this will be my 8th year. So I think pro outlaw is definitely on the horizon. Dad sometimes talks about top alcohol racing, but it's just a little bit on the edge of what I'm wanting to. Just as I get older in my life, I do want a family and all of those things. So I don't know if that's something that I want to put at risk. So pro mod is a very safe class. Pro outlaw is a very safe class, and I feel comfortable there. I feel safe. Anything above that, I would have to do it before I have a family.
Right. Very cool. That's awesome. Well, it was funny when I first saw you on Facebook and I messaged you. You're like, you want to talk to a hydro drag boat racer? Yeah, why not? And I'm glad we were able to get together and talk a little bit about it, because like I said, it's definitely out here on the East Coast, we really don't have it. We have offshore powerboat racing, and that's probably the biggest form of boat racing in our area. From obviously down in Florida up to maybe like the Maryland area, possibly a little bit further north than that. But it was cool, and it like I said, all I've ever seen of it is on TV, and I'm glad I got the chance to learn some more about it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to share, and I hope that if anyone is curious to see it, I hope somebody comes out to one of our races.
If people want to connect with you about your racing, where can they find you on the inter universe?
The biggest one to be Shelby EBERT Racing on Facebook. That's the biggest updater. Instagram is another one. It's World Champ 326 on Instagram. Those are the main two.
Cool. And the picture that one of the pictures I used when I put the ad together to have you on, what are you? You are what? The world's
We're a fastest woman on water is the tagline. Yes.
what's the fastest you've ever gone?
187.
187?
Yep.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
On water. Wow. Props to you, young lady. I very, very much props to you for that.
Thank you.
Well, listen, if things change down the road, and you decide to come over to the dark side and give it a shot, let us know. We'd like to talk to you about what it's like making a transition from one side of drag racing to the other. I think that would be a really cool topic.
I think working at a drag strip, it's just not a matter of when or if, it's a matter of when, honestly. So
I was gonna say, now you guys gotta all kind of look at each other and go, let's go grab those scooters and race down the track, or or the ATVs, or golf carts, or whatever. You must have a little after work shenanigans going on with the employees.
there really isn't. I mean, I know that I could easily go buy a tech card for however long on a test and tune night and go do it. It's just we're always busy or, in the tower or doing whatever. And it hasn't happened. I think that I think that I'm kind of an all or nothing kind of person, so we might as well just get into a dragster or something and not use my daily driver as a test and tune car.
Hop into a top dragster, go 610 and see what it feels like, right?
Yes, exactly.
Very cool. Well, Shelby, it was awesome talking to you. Like I said, seriously though, if you ever get the chance to try asphalt racing, I want to know about it, because I want to have you on and talk about the difference in the two and just what it was like doing it.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, listen, best of luck in 2023, and best of luck with your job and keeping all the racers in line, because that's a task in and of itself.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
All right, Shelby, have a great night. Thanks for coming on and hanging out with us. I really appreciate it.
You too. Thanks for having me.
All right, bye-bye now. All right, Shelby Ebert, everybody, our guest for this evening. Check her out on Facebook, Shelby Ebert, EBERT Racing on Facebook. It was cool. I really wanted to learn about drag boat racing, and I definitely got a little bit of an education, which I'm very happy about. Now, getting to this past weekend, the final results from the 54th annual Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals at Gainesville Raceway. Race number 1 of 21 in the 2023 NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series. Going to start it off with Top Fuel, Mike Salinas over Steve Torrance. Funny Car, Matt Hagan over JR Todd. Pro Stock, Troy Coughlin Jr. over Mason Magaha. Now, one of the biggest stories I think to come out of it was round 1 of Pro Stock. Erica Enda's car wouldn't fire. Couldn't get it to go. So she went out round 1. So not only the car not firing, going out round 1, that was not the way to start a defense of a championship. Luckily, it's race number 1. There's a lot of time to make up all those points. Let's see. Pro Stock Bike, Gage Herrera over Angie Smith. Excuse me. Top Alcohol Dragster, Julie Natas over Cody Crone. Top Alcohol Funny Car, New England native Matt Gill defeated defending champion for the Division 1 region, DJ Cox Jr. Comp Eliminator, Jim Greenheck over Joseph Aerosmith. Superstock, your defending world champion, Peter Diagnolo defeated Kevin Helms. Stock Eliminator, Jeff Strickland over Brenda Grubbs. Another great race for this past weekend was the semifinals of Stock Eliminator. Heads Up Double A Stock Automatic. Johnny Gray and the beautiful former Dave LeBrun Camaro went up against Brenda Grubbs. Brenda got him on the tree, but it was an awesome race. Both wheels up, going for it, heads up race, and Brenda came out on top. But she was the runner-up to Jeff Strickland in Stock Eliminator in the finals. Super Comp, Mike Robolato defeated Kent Hanley. Super Gas, John Taylor in the pickup truck over Jeffrey Jensen. Super Street, Kobe Fuller defeated Dan Fletcher. How about that, huh? Taking out Dan Fletcher, one of the best in the world. Top Sportsman, Doug Kremlich over Mark Buring. Pomod, Justin Bond over J.R. Gray. Factory Stock, Joseph Welch in the Dodge Challenger. Check the speed out, 185 miles an hour over Aaron Stanfield. Back up just a sec. Joseph Welch, 763 with an 8 at 185.18 miles an hour. Again, he took out Aaron Stanfield in the Chevy Camaro, 830 with a 9 at 134 miles an hour. Now, 51 mile an hour difference. How crazy is that? The factory cars this year, it's going to be nuts. They were flying all weekend long. NHRA Camping World Drag Racing Series returns to action with the NHRA Arizona Finals on March 24th through the 26th, which is the final race at Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park in Phoenix. Sad to lose another track. A couple things that were released today. There's a chance that No Problem Raceway might be getting a national event, or they're on the list of tracks to be checked out for possibly adding to the Camping World Drag Racing World Series. Let's see, Toyota, in conjunction with Antron Brown, over the weekend also released the Roadster, the Super Gas style Roadster Toyota Supra for the kids, for the juniors. I think it's going to be its own class. More information will be coming on that soon. It's not officially for sale yet, but it's being constructed by Half Scale out of New Jersey. So that's very cool. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we will be back next Tuesday with, and you're going to want to check this interview out, I do believe. Division 1 Stock Eliminator racer Tim Barrett and his lovely wife, Linda Barrett. Now, for those of you that don't know, Linda is a 3-time defending champ against breast cancer. She has smacked cancer into the corner and let it know who's really in charge. So looking forward to talking to Tim and Linda next week. The 28th of March, we're going to be talking to Merv Safety about a new head and neck style restraint system. April 4th, Lorenzo Martin out of North Carolina, we're going to talk rocket racing. April 11th, Capri Wesley out of Florida, we're going to talk some more bracket racing. Let's see, April 18th, Dino Lawrence puts on a bunch of events at Lebanon Valley. He's also designed some new signs for them. We're going to talk about upcoming events that he has. April 25th, Allie Pettit from Duzen LLC, an official sponsor of Racers News Network Live. Going to have her on. We're going to talk a little bit about what is going on with Duzen's sponsorship of the Triple 10Ks in August at Lebanon Valley Dragway. So a lot of great stuff coming up, and we are just adding to the list every hour of every day. Again, we'll be back next Tuesday night at 7:00. Sure to tune in, check us out live. Till then, everybody, have a great evening. If you're headed to South Georgia, drive carefully, and we'll talk to you all then. Have a great night.